Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucia and this is Lulu's Leaves. In today's video, I really want to go through and talk to you guys about some plants that I never gave up on. These are plants that were really ugly looking, or they went back to stumps, and I was able to grow them back into some really beautiful plants. So I did want to go through and just show you all of my successes in terms of bringing plants back from the dead, because I want to encourage you guys to basically do the same and not give up on your plants so easily. Because if I had, I wouldn't have all of these beautiful plants I have here for you today. Before I do get into that though, if you guys are not already subscribed to my channel, definitely do so by clicking the button down below. If you also want to join the giveaway for a $20 Amazon gift card, don't forget to also like this video and comment down below, and that will get you entered. But yeah, that's going to be all before we get into the bulk of this video. I have quite a few plants here to show you, so I just want to get straight on into it. The first plant that I want to talk to you guys about is this Hoya Bella Louis Bois. This is a plant here that actually got spider mites quite a while ago, and close up here you might actually be able to see that old spider mite damage. I'm not sure if you can, but it's definitely there. This plant gave me a lot of grief for quite some time. A lot of the leaves were falling off, which was really sad to see because I had taken such good care of this plant prior to the spider mites attacking, and it was looking super duper beautiful. I was really ready to get rid of this plant because there were a few more of them popping up around the area, so I knew that if I really wanted another one, which I did, that I could easily, or maybe not so easily, but I could get one. I decided instead to chop this guy up, as well as my Hoya Bella Albo Marginata, which also had spider mites, and I put it into some moss, and immediately we got some roots, and I continued to treat the plants in a little cup with some soapy water, and that seemed to do the trick. I do need to keep an eye on this one all the time just to make sure that those spider mites have not come back, but for the most part, this plant has done really well. So it is now well rooted in this moss here. I'm probably going to switch it over to some soil as soon as I can get out to some stores and pick some up. But I am super happy with the way this one is looking. I'm so glad that I didn't give up on it, because when I did chop this up, I think I only had 5 or 6 leaves left on it, and now it has just taken off in growth after rooting. So yeah, this is the first plant that I definitely would have regretted throwing away, but yeah, I'm glad I didn't. Next up is a plant that you guys have seen me struggle with quite a bit on this channel. It was a really beautiful plant, and then I decided, hey, why don't I put this plant in some leca? And that was probably the worst decision for this plant, considering it had such a beautiful root system in soil. I was just wanting to try something out, and it failed. If you don't remember that video, you haven't been here that long. I am talking about my Philodendron PLOWMANII. This plant has been through it with me, and yeah, it went from being a beautiful 3-leaved plant to a 2-leaved plant to a 1-leaved plant, and it had really bad root rot, and that one leaf would stick around until that next leaf came out, and then that leaf would die off, and then that continued for a few months. So it was always just a 1-leafer with a really long stolon across the surface of the soil. And then eventually it wasn't okay, and it decided, okay, no leaves. I can't support any leaves. It didn't have a great enough root system to support those leaves. So I decided to chop it all up once those leaves had fallen off, and I gave myself 3 new plants. So this here is the most successful propagation so far. It is the largest of the bunch. The other ones are definitely going to be just fine too, but this was the top cutting. It did have an active growth point when that last leaf fell off, and so that is why this leaf is a little bit bigger than the other propagations. But I am really happy that I didn't give up on this plant because it is a very beautiful type of PLOWMANII. I know there are a few different forms. I don't know if it's official, but I've seen a lot of variation between the PLOWMANIIs, so I am happy to have this one. It just looks so beautiful, and there is some new growth coming up on it too, so definitely happy I didn't give up on this one either. The next plant is another one you guys have seen me struggle with for a while, but this new leaf that it put out is worth all of the struggle. This here is my Anthurium regale. That's what it's called, Anthurium regale. This was one of my top wish list plants for so long, and they were really inaccessible for a while too, but they have now become very accessible if you want one, especially in Canada. There are so many people importing these guys right now, so they are a bit of a dime a dozen, but I still have so much love for this plant because of what I was able to accomplish with it. This plant started out as 4 leaves when I got it. It lost 1 leaf from there, and then what happened is it started getting some bacterial spots, so I decided to cut off the 2 lowest leaves. What that left me with was 1 leaf and a new growth point. From there, I thought the plant got thrips, so I cut off that older leaf just because I was not happy, and I got the new growth point, and then I found those bugs, whatever they were, again on that new growth. So I eventually cut that one off as well, and this is a brand new growth after I realized it was not thrips. And I had also done a lot of damage to that new growth because I was spraying it down with something to try to get rid of these thrips. So this is the first leaf back with no spray damage or no bacterial spots. So I'm really, really proud of how far this plant has come. It's actually grown a lot of leaves in the time that I've had it, but this is the first one that is free of anything wrong with it other than some tiny cosmetic damage. So yeah, I'm definitely proud of this Anthurium regale. I think it's such a beautiful leaf too. It's getting that shape that I really, really like. I'm also really proud of my other regale, but I feel like 2 separate regale stories is not that interesting. So both of my regales are making me really happy lately. Next up on this list is a plant that I think I gave root rot a while ago. This is a plant that my boyfriend bought for me for my birthday. I think last year it was, yeah, so last year. And it was so beautiful. It still is, but it went through a period where it definitely wasn't so beautiful. And I'm talking about my HOYA Australis Lisa. This is such a beautiful Hoya. If you don't already have one, you are definitely missing out. It is very different from the Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess. If you see it and you think, that looks like a princess to me, trust me, in person it looks very different. This plant, I think, got root rot. You can see it on one of these stems. It got very woody right here. I don't even know if you can see that properly, but it was really, really weird. And so I decided last minute that before it died, I wanted to chop it up and give it a chance in moss. And all of these leaves were so wrinkly. They looked like every leaf was gonna fall off. And now I have such a beautiful plump plant. And the greatest thing about it is that I was able to save almost every single leaf from that propagation. All of these guys plumped right back up, and then I got new growth almost right away once we got some root growth. So this is another one that I am super proud of, super happy I kept holding on to, and I'm glad that I gave it one last ditch effort. I definitely recommend doing that with your plants too. If you really feel like you can't take care of that plant anymore, it's giving you so much grief, just throw it in a prop box even and see what happens, because a lot of plants will just come back from the dead. They really want to live. So yeah, that is the Hoya Australis Lisa. The next plant here will probably surprise you. It definitely surprised me, and I'm happily surprised now. I was a little bit disappointed for a while, but I am really happy that I gave this plant a chance. This here is my variegated MONSTERA. I'm sorry, with the lighting, it's a little bit difficult to see the leaves. They're really shiny, and I've got an artificial light to help me out here. But I cut this plant, and unfortunately, I thought that the leaves came out completely green afterwards. I thought that they had lost their variegation, and I was really disappointed because You know, these plants aren't easy to find, especially as nicely variegated as the one that I have is. So I definitely was a little bit disappointed, but I was just riding the wave, and I'm so glad that I didn't end up cutting this or making some stupid decision with this plant, because I realized afterwards, about a month and a half afterwards, that this plant was actually variegated still. And the only reason I figured that out is because I actually moved my plants around and I put this back in my IKEA greenhouse cabinet. And that brought the variegation back. So I'm hoping you guys can see this. Probably not. Oh, maybe. But if you see in the corner there, this plant is still variegated. A lot of this leaf is going to be a lighter lime green color, but now that it's in the greenhouse, I think these colors are going to pop a lot more. You'll see that just as it grows. The reason I was able to tell and I noticed was because I was looking at my plants from underneath for some reason, and I saw variegation on the underside. And I was so confused because I was like, okay, is this just variegated on the underside and I dodged a bullet here, I'm still gonna keep the plant? And then I looked closer and I saw the variegation, but it was so difficult to see in my darker area where this plant was. So yeah, lesson learned. You definitely want to keep your green on green variegated plants in highlight spots, because this variegation just came out in the last few days. So yeah, that's my sport variegated Monstera. Still doing well. I'm gonna keep an eye on that and try to give it the best chance for some really nicely variegated new leaves. Hi, Lumi. You wanna say hi? No, you don't wanna say hi. The next plant that I wanna talk about is my HOYA SERPENS. This is one that you guys saw in my last video, and you can tell it's looking really, really nice. But what you guys probably don't remember is that this plant actually came as a 2 or 3 node cutting. I think it was 3 nodes, and it lost every leaf but 2. So it had 1 node left, and I was like, okay, this is never gonna make it. But this plant came back from having nothing to this. I'm so happy that I didn't give up on this plant, and I have such a beautiful specimen today. I do plan on propagating this one soon. I'll probably propagate it right here and throw it back in the moss. I do want to replace this moss though, because it is less than great quality. So yeah, I do plan on doing that, but I am really, really excited about this plant and just the fact that it has grown so nicely for me. So definitely proud that I didn't give up on this one. It also has some beautiful peduncles growing, so we might actually get some flowers on this guy sometime soon, but we will just have to wait and see. I'm in no rush for flowers. Honestly, they're not my favorite part of Hoyas. They're great, they're a bonus, but that's not what it's all about for me. All right, guys, well, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about some plants that I'm glad I never gave up on. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and also leave a comment so that you get entered into the giveaway. But that's going to be all from me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!